Hello everybody. Hola. Welcome back to another episode of Welcome to the Sun, the Costa Blanca Online Property Podcast. I'm Aki Kareem, your host, and I'm joined by the irrepressible Colin from Welcome Estates, fresh off his trip from to Portugal. And Colin, you got a nice little glow there, a tan, mate.
It's not from Portugal, unfortunately, Aki. But we'll
is that from the sunbed? Or is this for another day? This story.
I think it might be blood pressure.
Yeah, well, Colin had some technical issues logging on, but we're glad you're here, Colin. How was the trip, though, mate? Was it a good trip? Did you get some rest?
Yeah, really interesting. I mean, it's a long old drive. It's probably about a 9 or 10 hour drive. So we stopped over on the way. We had a night over on the way back. So yeah, lots of stories to tell. Do we want to go into that now? Because as you can see, I'm on my own this morning. We have Lisa in far-flung destinations.
Well, this is when I tell you guys that there's always something going on at the Welcome Estates podcast. There is, and so I think we'll hold that thought for a second, Colin, because we are going to go and speak to Lisa Crabtree, and she is with her sons, Tommy and Charlie. And they are in the Midlands, and here they are. So, good morning, Lisa. How's things? Good morning, boys. How's everyone going?
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Hi, Charlie. Hi, Tommy.
Morning.
How are you guys?
Good.
So these boys are on their Easter holidays at the minute, and we've decided to come to the UK.
Well, I'm glad you've done this because you didn't do this just for the show, though. Can you just clarify? You didn't do it just for our show, did you?
No. It's my mum's birthday on the 21st of April. So we decided to spend Easter in the UK this year. But as we all know, flight prices go up quite a bit on kids' holidays. So we decided, first time ever, we're actually going to have a holiday in the UK. So we flew into Birmingham. Where did we go yesterday, boys?
Alton Towers.
Yeah. Love Alton Towers. So,
okay.
Yeah, so the Alton Towers trip's been done, and let me just ask you this then: from the time you left your house in Spain to get into England, because we kind of talked about this last week the other way around. How was that transition? Was it quite seamless? Was it stress-free?
So we went on Monday morning. What time did I have to get you up, Charlie?
Like about 5:30.
5:30.
Wow, that's early, Tommy.
Okay, so it's about 5:30, but we was in Birmingham for I think it was about 10 to 11.
Okay, so that's really
obviously
good.
we gained an hour with the time changing, so it would have been 12 o'clock in Spain, but in England it was 11 o'clock. So literally up airport, and we was, how many hours is that? 7 hours. By the time we'd been in the airport, got on the plane, up, down, came back through security.
Yeah, so not bad, really. To be honest, Lisa, last week I drove to London with your dad, and it took us 6.5 hours from Manchester.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes.
Have you never drove with Gary Carnforth, Colin?
I've not had the fortune, but the legend lives on, because the reason I haven't got in the car with him, I hear all these stories constantly. So I hear the term driving Miss Daisy quite often. I think that would be quite accurate, wouldn't it?
that is very accurate. So let me go to the boys then. Let's start off with Tommy. Have you enjoyed so far? Have you enjoyed actually coming back to England? And are you glad that you've come over for this trip?
Yeah.
What's been the best thing about coming back?
Alton Towers, 100%.
And what about you, Charlie? Have you enjoyed seeing everybody? Is it good to see everybody? And what have you got planned coming up as well?
I don't really know what we've got planned.
Do you want to take this, Lisa?
As you can tell, this is not scripted. This was just a jump in and say hello to the boys. So, Tommy, tell Aki what ride you went on yesterday.
Yesterday I went on the Nemesis, the Oblivion, and the Smiler. The three biggest.
Is Oblivion the one where it stops at the top and then just shoots down the back?
Oh, I've got a video. It was awful. As you know, I've had a bad neck recently, so I sat off rides yesterday, but I was watching him thinking, oh my. We're actually here with our friends, Rihanna and Steve and Arabella, and we met them because they lived in Spain for a short while. Well, they had like a sabbatical from teaching, and now they're back in the UK. So we've come to see them for a couple of days. We're staying in a really, really lovely cottage. It's really pretty around here.
Yeah,
in the Peak District.
About 30 minutes. Oh, Colin, don't test me. You know my job.
That sounds about right. Charlie, what was your favourite?
Well, I don't really have a favourite. I like them all the most.
You like them all the most.
Are you kind of tall enough yet to get on the big ones, or do you still need to grow a little bit?
I need to grow like about 5 inches.
Well, that's not much. That's only a year and a half. You'll be back.
Yeah. So we're actually just about to check out of where we are now, and we're just about to go in the car to Windsor. So Windsor's our next stop for the next couple of nights.
Yeah,
fantastic.
That's what we're trying to do.
Well, it highlights, doesn't it, the accessibility of, living or hopping, let's say, between where you're based in La Finca to where you are now, like the Midlands in England. It just shows you the accessibility and the ease of travel, particularly if you've got, the visa where you have to come back every so often. It highlights that, doesn't it?
It was, and it was so easy. We got up in the morning. Yes, we got up about 5:30, but that's me trying to be organised. But by the time we left for the airport, that had been 6:30, 7 o'clock at the airport for a couple of hours, and to then be in the UK at 11 o'clock was great. We had a little bit tired, but we had the full day in front of us, really. The weather's not too bad. The one thing that I find interesting about the UK compared to Spain is we was a bit worried that Alton Towers wouldn't go ahead yesterday because of the forecast. It's so easily to get rained off here, really, a little bit, isn't it? Where in Spain you don't really have that problem. Although March has been a little bit unpredictable in Spain, but 1 month out of the year.
Have you noticed a different, like a change in pace, a change in lifestyle? Does it make you realise that Spain's so much different?
Back to the traffic and the driving. I know we touch it all the time, but honestly, Carl's about here packing. But we're not allowed to use any swear words on here, boys, just so you're aware. But Dad in the car, did he get slightly angry a couple of times? Yeah.
Is there a new word? Was there?
Yeah, apparently no one can drive. But it's just because it is so busy. The roads, even we've not touched traffic in peak time at all, but the roads are just so busy.
Well, if you're having the same issues in England, you know what you need to do. You need to get in contact with Colin and Lisa and get yourself moved out to La Finca or somewhere on Costa Blanca.
That's one of the first things people mention, though, when they get here, seriously.
Yeah.
As soon as they come out of the airport, they think, wow, how quiet the roads are in comparison. And I mean, the motorway network's incredible. And people say it all the time when I've got them in the car, what a difference it is to actually driving here. A lot of people are actually scared to drive in Spain until they realise that it's not as busy. The only thing is the steering wheel's on the wrong side for a few months while you get used to it. But I mean, the roads themselves are fantastic.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I thought, because I don't like driving on the right. But when I came out to the last trip to La Finca, and then we went into Lasagna and all the other places in Torrevieja, I found the roads to be really pleasant and stress-free, actually.
Yeah, stress-free. I think the word is stress-free. You don't get that same build-up of frustration because of the traffic and other drivers, and it's just very different. But just onto the boys, in the sense of, obviously people are watching and they might be moving over with children. But the boys are on the Easter holidays, just like the UK at the moment. It is a little bit different because these boys don't get half terms. So like your children, Aki.
Yeah, my kids are on 2 weeks at the minute.
Yeah, these are on. Well, they finished on Friday. They've got over 2 weeks this time. So it's a nice break, but they haven't had a proper holiday, apart from a few days since Christmas. They had no half term. So we're making the most of this one. And after this, now they'll finish for the summer, which is a long summer here. They finish on the 24th of June, I think it is, this year. And that is it then until September.
So you're gonna have your hands full. But it does reinforce. I mean, what would you say, guys? The demographic is for people who want to make this move or buy a holiday home. Would you say 50% have children, or was it less or more?
I personally would say less,
Right.
because we touched before, visas are difficult, and the truth is that the category that struggled the most since Brexit is probably the working person still, because getting a working visa is difficult. Getting the ability to work in Spain is just not as easy now. It's not impossible. I met somebody in the I want to say somewhere good, but it wasn't. It was a pub on Friday night after work. And he just moved to La Finca, and there's a lot of children on La Finca at the moment, and boys. Yeah, they love going out at the minute. These chill, and a lot more permanent. I'm really surprised, Colin. A lot have actually moved over. One, I really upset somebody on Friday. This person, because he's got an Irish passport and he's moved over. They're renting somewhere, so it's great. But his partner and 2 children are over, and he said to me, "Oh, how do I get my partner in?" I said, "Gotta get married, mate." He was like, "Pardon?" He was like, I can't. I said, "If you've got an Irish passport, it's absolutely brilliant. You're not on the same restrictions as possibly somebody with a UK passport. You still can come over and you can still work, but they cannot if you're not married." Spanish is very traditional. Being married, is the way to be in Spain. Really, would you agree with that, Colin?
Absolutely. And I mean, even for people who, apply for a non-lucrative visa, which is, the most common visa here, often referred to as the retirement visa, we sometimes come across people who've lived together for many years and never took the decision to get married. In that instance, what you've got to bear in mind, all of the Spanish legislation with regards to visas and all the rest of it is predicated either on a single applicant or a married applicant. Okay. Now, if you're not married, there's other kind of things that you have to demonstrate, like you are financially dependent on one another, you have assets together. So more like a common law marriage. And basically what it's trying to deter is somebody really saying that they're in a relationship when, we've all seen the movie Green Card many years ago with Gerard Depardieu. I think that's what it's kind of trying to get around. So it's not that you can't do it as a non-married couple, but the actual legislation as it's written is based on a married couple. So if you weren't, you would have to prove other things in order to get the visa. But as Lisa said, the simplest thing, never marry for love, just for tax purposes.
So not only will Welcome Estates find you a fantastic property and help you with the legal side of things, if he is struggling to pop the question, we're going to help you with that as well.
and all I need is a little dog collar and we're sorted, aren't we?
Yeah. But it was just one of those interesting conversations again where this person was renting. They hadn't come across me or us because they're not looking to purchase, they're looking to rent at the moment, but somebody must have said, "Oh, that's Lisa from Welcome Estates," and he came and was asking me some questions, and it's just lack of knowledge or lack of understanding, and it is quite simple really. He can be in Spain and they can be in Spain as a family. They've just got to get the right advice and take the right steps to get the right visa for them.
It all comes back to, Aki, we say the same thing again and again. It all comes back to, irrespective of where you're from, you have to take advice from an immigration expert and a tax expert, because at the end of the day, we talk about Brexit a lot. We talk about British people trying to move to Spain. Yes, things have changed in as much as if you haven't got a visa and you don't want to live here, then you're restricted to your 90 days. You are always restricted to 180 days anyway, because for anybody now looking to circumvent rules, we have quite often inquiries where somebody will say, well, can I get around the rules? I maybe want to spend 7 or 8 months a year in Spain and 4 months of the year back in the UK. Well, unless you want to become a Spanish tax resident and become resident, then there isn't a way around that. So, I think Lisa referred to it a couple of weeks ago. Nothing has changed in as much as soon as you spend more than 183 days in a country, then you become a tax resident anyway. So Brits were always limited to this 180 days in effect, forever, even before Brexit. The only difference now is you've got to split that 180 days into 2 chunks of 90, or do it as a rolling period throughout the year.
Okay. Okay, thanks for that clarification, Colin. So if you want to see more of the boys, by the way, with Lisa and Carl, who's packing in the background, you need to get onto the YouTube channel and check out the Welcome Estates YouTube channel, this is, and check out At Home with the Crabtrees. And we are going to do some trips. There are some trips planned in the summer, and we are going to film some more episodes. While I got you, Lisa, last question, because I know you probably need to get on with your day now. Something very exciting coming up between the 9th and 11th of May in London, which is A Place in the Sun Live, the exhibition. Would you tell us a little bit about this, and then we'll let you guys get on with your day?
Yeah, so there's 5 of us from Welcome flying out to London. We will have 3 days at the exhibition centre, which is organised by A Place in the Sun, but it's a perfect place for people to come who are watching this channel, because they're at the beginning, middle, or end stage. It doesn't matter whichever stage you're at buying a property in Spain for whatever reason. It could be a holiday home, it could be an investment like we talked about last week, or it could be a permanent move. At shows like this, you can talk to us in person. You can see Colin. Colin's got a regular stint on the stage, which is all about people asking questions about the process. But it's not just estate agents that are there, it's solicitors, it is currency, it's mortgage, even to the extent of transport companies to help you get that furniture over if you need to. It's a great place to come. And we actually find that our clients who we first met there at the show, not just a phone call or an email, people who we've met face to face, the journey is so much smoother and simpler, because how nice is it to get into Spain, which is a different country, on a journey which is a little bit nerve-wracking in the first place, but you're meeting a face that it's a real person. You've already spoke to them in your own country, and now you're in Spain and they're guiding you through the process.
Yeah, so anyone that watches the channel and is watching this, and the feedback is coming through that quite a lot of people are actually tuning in and watching and seeing these videos. If you want to come and meet the team and you have any questions, A Place in the Sun Live at the London XL between the 9th and 11th of May is the perfect opportunity to do this. Colin, how do they get tickets? How do people actually come along to this event?
If you go to A Place in the Sun website, they're advertising now. I'm pretty sure I've seen big advertising campaigns on the TV as well, so all the details will be there. We actually send out a newsletter probably about 2 weeks before the event, where we get so many free tickets allocated. So if you're already within our database, you'll be getting a newsletter very shortly where you can click a link and be our guest.
All right, and Lisa, just one last question then. Just if people are at a stage where they're they're not that far into the procedure, like you just said, and they've just got a thought in their mind that they may want to move out to Spain or somewhere else, would you be interested in seeing these people as well, or do they have to be further down the line?
Of course. We have people there who are ready to buy now, 6 months, 12 months, even some people up to 2 years, because at the end of the day, you don't know if it's possible until you ask the right questions. And this is a place to ask the right questions, because it may not be. And that's the truth about it. For some people, it may not be. We might not have the right funds, or we might not have the right eligibility for a visa, and this is how you find out if you can make that dream a reality. Really,
everybody's under one roof, Becky. It's a rare opportunity for somebody who's got an interest, because every profession is under one roof. So if you can't get the answers there, you're struggling.
Yeah.
Well, you and Lisa are now internet sensations, so it's worth coming just to meet you guys, really, isn't it? And the boys will be as well, as we continue with At Home with the Crabtrees, guys. And that link for that video is in the bio below this video. So if you want to check out what life is like.
Tommy's been signing autographs at school and everything, haven't you?
No.
But he's on VIP wing in the school.
He will be soon. He will be soon.
Yeah.
Well, we'll let you get on, Lisa. Thanks for joining us.
Okay,
Hopefully
brilliant.
checked out
Right.
both smoothly.
We're going to say bye, boys.
Bye.
Bye. Happy Easter. Hope you get lots of Easter eggs.
I think I will.
I think you will as well.
Do you think the Easter Bunny will know you've come to England?
I wrote him a letter, so probably.
Oh, right.
Oh,
Okay,
well.
that's good. Okay,
Good planning.
that's good.
Very good planning.
Good preparation. Right, enjoy the rest of the show, guys.
See
Don't
you
forget
later.
to mention Alicante Airport. We've just been through it. It is brilliant.
We will
I've got
definitely.
some news on that.
Yeah.
Awards incoming. So yeah, we'll go into that in a minute.
Only problem is Tommy's sandwich cost me €15 because he from Subway because he wanted absolutely everything on it possible.
You had every vegetable.
Get your
Every
five
vegetable.
fruit and veg in a day anyway. Well done, Tommy.
All right, then. See you later, guys. Enjoy your
Bye.
day.
See you later.
Bye.
So, Colin, that was Lisa and the boys joining us from England. So it just shows again the accessibility, and she kind of hopped within a few hours over there. But let's just quickly go back to the exhibition show, because I want to sort of because I came to the last one and I really enjoyed being there, and there were loads of people coming over, and actually they'd seen the channel or they'd seen the shorts or the Instagram, and it was a really great vibe. And do you meet buyers through this?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. As Lisa said earlier, people are generally at 3 different stages. So, you'll have people where it's not quite the right time, but, they're laying the foundations, and that's cool. Every journey starts with the first step. So, their information gathering. And it genuinely is a fantastic place to gather that information, because you've got every profession you would need there. You've got the lawyers, you've got the agents, you've got, if you need any kind of funding, you've got mortgage providers there, you've got currency. So as Lisa said, you will be able to get the answers whether you're going to be able to do something or not. You've got people who then want to relocate, who've maybe grown tired of the weather and other situations, and cost of living, etc., and have got to a stage in their life where they've worked hard, they've maybe got a decent amount of equity in their property, and they're of that age where they've seen their property grow substantially and can potentially have a place in the sun for better value than they currently have somewhere else. So there's those. And again, for them, it's finding out whether that kite's going to fly for them, whether they would qualify for a visa. But with some simple criteria questions, it's very easy to get. And then finally, you've got the people who are they've got no desire to relocate to Spain, and they want to buy their bolt hole in the sun. So they come down to 3 specific areas, and we meet an awful lot of buyers there, and make great relationships. I can imagine being on the other end of it and being a buyer, it would be very reassuring to meet the people who you're going to work with. One thing we always say to everybody is, when you go there, it's an opportunity for you to put your team together. So go there with a view in mind of, not just dealing with absolutely everybody. Speak to the people who you think can help you in the area where you think you might want to be, and go away from that show having put a team together. So maybe engage with a lawyer who you feel you can work with, engage with the agent you feel you can work with, speak to the currency people, because you're going to need currency advice. If you need mortgages, there's mortgage providers there that you can speak to. So you can actually walk away from that building with a firm plan in mind, because one bit of feedback we constantly get from people who don't do this and just come out to Spain with absolutely no plan whatsoever, they just end up in purgatory because they just don't know what to do. They don't know what the next step is. So you can have your hand held before you even get on that plane, and have the full transition of being a non-property buyer in Spain to the end of it, getting back on the plane and having reserved a property. And we can make it very simple for people. So that's the key advice. Get there, put your team together, and your life will be much simpler.
Yeah, Yeah, good point. It's a one-stop shop, guys. So you know where to be, and that's coming up in less than a month. So if you want to meet the Welcome Estates team, that is the place to be. Colin, there's still loads to talk about. We're going to talk about Alicante Airport. We're going to come back and talk
Yep.
about your trip as well. But what I'm going to do right now to keep
Okay.
everything going nice and smoothly, seeing as we're talking about we're getting in the mood to move people out here to the Costa Blanca, is we're going to talk about property of the week. So
Okay.
this particular property is a bungalow in Ciudad Quesada. Would you want to tell us a little bit about it, Colin?
Ciudad, your pronunciation's getting much better, Aki. Ciudad Quesada. Yeah, so the first thing, this is an interesting one. So when you see the term bungalow in Spain, a bungalow in Spain isn't often the same as what we would know as a bungalow in the UK. Okay, so that's the first point. A bungalow is an apartment that just has a ground floor apartment and a top floor apartment. So it's not like a multi-store building that you would see in Benidorm, like 50 floors. It's literally one up, one down. The Spanish use the term bungalow for that. So it's not the bungalow as we would know it in the UK in the little the white picket fence cul-de-sac.
Okay.
So Quesada is absolutely bustling. It's a really busy town. You're about 15 minutes away from the coast. Huge high street. We've actually done a show on Quesada and all the things to do. They've got go-karting, they've got crazy golf, they've got 10-pin bowling, they've got a water park there, they've got loads of bars and restaurants. It really is a thriving town, and there's loads of development going on there as well. These particular apartments are amazing because they are literally a 10-minute walk from the high street. Which is actually getting harder and harder to do in Quesada. As you can imagine, when something develops, it develops around a core and then gradually moves out. So you end up further and further away. This builder's managed to secure this plot. It's literally a 10-minute walk. And the nice thing about these apartments is they come fully included in the price. They come with everything. So they're fully furnished as well. So you literally get the keys, walk in, drop your suitcase, and start getting on with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful. It's got communal pool, like you mentioned, off-road parking. It's just minutes from the bars, restaurants. If you like golf, it's a no-brainer. Now, let's talk about the price, 289,000.
Yeah.
Would you genuinely say this is a good, really good value then?
Well, the way prices are going now, Aki, yes, because we have clients out all the time, and I've had a client out this week who we're deliberating between two different developments at the moment, and they have a budget of around 350,000 euros, and they've been apartment searching. So to get this apartment in such a good location with it being fully furnished, so you don't have to make any decisions, it's all done for you. So these things are becoming harder and harder to come across with the price of things going up.
Okay, well, guys, if you are interested, you know what to do. You need to get onto the Welcome Estates website, which is www.welcome-estates.com, or send a message on the Instagram, DM them on Instagram, and somebody will get back to you for this property and loads of other fantastic bargains. Colin, let's move on and look at some actual questions, because these are questions from genuine buyers who are interested, okay? And every week we sort of have some questions coming in. So let's look at some of these questions. So the first one is coming in. And like I say, these are all genuine questions that have come in. Can I still buy property in Spain as a UK citizen post-Brexit, and what are the current rules?
Yeah, get this one all the time. So the answer is yes. Nothing has changed from a buying perspective. So pre-Brexit, post-Brexit, nothing in the buying process has changed if you're a UK citizen. The only difference is the amount of time that you're limited to spend here in one sitting. So pre-Brexit, you could stay, well, as long as you wanted without becoming resident. But again, going back to the earlier bit, if you spend more than 183 days, you would have to become a tax resident here. So nobody did that. The only limitations you have now, which you didn't have, is your maximum stay in any one sitting is 90 days. But you can still spend 180 days a year here. So nothing's changed in the buying process.
Nothing has changed, guys. Nothing has changed apart from what Colin has just mentioned. Next question. If I live in Spain full-time, Do I need private health insurance or can I use the public system?
Oh, that's a good one.
It's a good one.
Yeah, it is. It actually depends on your age. So you're coming here, you're going to live. I'm going to assume this is from somebody from the UK who would need some form of visa. If your state retirement age in the UK, so if you're already retired and receiving your state pension, you will qualify for something called an S1 form. Now, S1 is something that you write to the Department of Health up in Newcastle in the UK, tell them you're emigrating to Spain. They then send a letter out to Spain, which basically effectively transfers your NHS rights to the Spanish system. And then you take those forms to your doctor and get registered with your local doctor. So if you're retired, it's not a legal requirement to have private health insurance. If you're not retired and applying for that visa, private healthcare is a prerequisite of the application of the visa. So when you go for your visa appointment, you will have to demonstrate to the Spanish consulate that you're already holding Spanish healthcare. Now, Spanish healthcare out here, from a private perspective, myself and Deborah, we obviously are part of the Spanish health system because we are residents and work here, so therefore contribute to social security here. But we also retained our private healthcare. Now, to give you an idea, obviously I'm very young myself, so is Deborah, but we pay about €1,400 a year for the both of us. And there's absolutely no excesses with that whatsoever. So Deborah's had a knee operation whilst we've been here. We have all of our well man checks, all of our well woman checks. Everything is covered with no excess. You are expected to use your healthcare out here.
Okay.
If you come and live here and you're not of state retirement age, therefore you've needed the healthcare to get into the country, you have to buy the policy up front. So you have to pay for the full year up front. But after 1 year, if you don't want to or feel that that's too expensive, you can actually start contributing to the Spanish healthcare system to become part of that. I think off the top of my head, it costs about €65 per head. So once you've lived here for a year, if you're not retired, you can start contributing in any event and be part of the Spanish healthcare system. And I have to say, it's absolutely brilliant. There's around 44 million people live permanently in Spain. The doctors and hospitals aren't overloaded, not overcrowded, and the healthcare system really works here. So I've had, and Deborah's had, very positive experiences with it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Does that answer the question?
It does answer the question. And you know what? A lot of estate agents, when I used to work as an estate agent in my younger days, and if anyone had asked that question to one of the people I worked with, they wouldn't have had a clue. So here you go. You're not just getting a good-looking, debonair, estate agent with Colin. You are getting someone who actually knows the stuff. Let's have a look at our next question. How much is the annual property taxes and community fees in areas like La Finca? I think Chris is trying to trick you out when he's picked some of these, but you're coming out with the answers, top trumps.
These are stock questions that we get most days of the week, to be honest. Okay, so the first thing to say here is your annual property taxes are called IBI. Okay, so your annual property taxes here are the equivalent of what you would compare to your council tax in the UK. Now, people are always shocked when we talk about the council taxes over here, because to give you an idea, we have our own house, a detached property, and we pay about £250 for our IBI a year. And most people are shocked because they think we're going to go on and say a month, because we pay here in a year what most people pay in a month back in the UK. Yeah. So that's your council tax equivalent. As far as community fees are concerned, it depends. It depends what's in the community. It depends how many properties are in that community. It depends if there are pools, gardens, etc., etc. Generally speaking, in the local area, I tend to see community fees ranging from €450 a year to €650 a year, about. Okay. Now, interestingly, we get this question quite a lot when we're at a place in the sun. Community fees in the Costa Blanca are far different to they are in the Costa del Sol. So when people are sometimes weighing up their options, we get a lot of people who say, I'm looking at the Costa del Sol and I'm also looking at Costa Blanca as well. One thing you've got to bear in mind with the Costa del Sol, their community fees, for whatever reason, and nobody can put the finger on this, not even agents I know in the Costa del Sol, are pretty much double what they are over here. So the cost of living in the Costa del Sol is far greater than the Costa Blanca.
Okay.
Something to bear in mind when you're making your decision.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, thanks again, Colin, for that one. I think we've got 2 more questions. The next one is, can I rent out my Spanish property short-term legally, and how is that taxed?
Yeah, well, the only way to do it is legally. So, we wouldn't have any conversation with anybody unless it was done legally. So the only way you can rent out your property on a short-term basis legally is to apply for something called the touristic license. Now, depending where you're looking, certain parts of the country, and there is a bit of a trend in Spain coming, where Spain has a bit of an issue with Airbnb, because Airbnb and other companies, don't want to get sued off Airbnb here, are people who purchase properties and are advertising them as short-term holiday lets have effectively taken that property stock out and stopped somebody else buying it who A, wants to live there, or B, wants to put a long-term tenant in it. So there are moves in Spain and in certain areas of Spain where it's getting more and more difficult to get a tourist license. Does that mean it's impossible? No, it doesn't at all. All you have to do is take legal advice before you put down the reservation deposit of whatever property you're looking to buy. Another thing you have to bear in mind, your lawyer will really have to look at the last minutes. If you're on a community, so say an apartment will have to be on a community. Therefore, he would see if there are any bars on any rentals. So there are a couple of hoops to jump through. It's not impossible, but it is getting more difficult. The way to go for some people, depending on budget, is, and I think this might have been 2 weeks ago, we touched on this as well, there are more and more projects now being built and designed as what are called touristic developments. So these developments are actually built purposely for investors. So the tourist license already comes with it. And I literally had a developer who rang me at 6 o'clock last night, who's got another brand new touristic development that he sent me all the details for. So these projects are now starting to be built with the blessing of local authorities, because they're designed as holiday villages where, they're not designed to be lived in, they're designed to be rented out, and that is their prime function. So that's maybe the way to go. The bit about the tax, again, always take advice from an independent taxation lawyer. We're not taxation lawyers, but there are a couple of options. If you rent it individually as a non-EU resident, as a UK resident, the tax rate is around 24%. Sometimes you can't offset any of your costs against the tax. But there are options to open a Spanish company and run it through the Spanish company where you would have a more favourable tax treatment. But again, you would need to speak to your lawyer regarding this to take the tax advice. We've had a number of people who've done that. We've had quite a number of people who bought properties through businesses. But again, you must take the professional advice before you do anything on that.
Okay, thank you, Colin. And we have one last question. I want to work remotely from Spain. What are my options for digital nomad or self-employment visas?
Ooh. Digital nomad's still one it hasn't been around that long. It's still relatively new. That there hasn't been an absolute boatload of people through the system like there has been the non-lucrative visa, which is now in its 5th year. Digital nomad, again, is one where you need to speak to an independent immigration lawyer. It's effectively designed for somebody who, say, works in the UK, they're a consultant, they work remotely, all they need is a stable internet connection and a laptop, and they could be on top of the Himalayan mountains for all they cared. So that's what it's designed to do. Effectively, it's for somebody whose income is derived from a non-Spanish company.
Yeah.
There is a certain group of people coming now, and you know, Spain's not the only place who has digital nomads. You know, they've been around for a long time. It's just becoming more prevalent after Brexit. Self-employment visas, again, something slightly different. It depends if you're working remotely or actually going to work in Spain. Wouldn't go too far into those. Highly complex. You know, if you're working for a company, you need their permission. There's certain documentation you need where you've got to provide before the visa will be granted. The visa application is actually done in Spain. But again, my advice to anybody would be sit down with an immigration lawyer. We can refer you to you know, 2 or 3 fantastic immigration lawyers we work with. And it will give you a checklist of every single item you need and see if that kite will fly before you get into it any further.
All right, guys, thanks for your questions. We really appreciate those. Some good questions there, and answered absolutely spot on from Colin. So, you know what? Let's talk about Alicante Airport, because Lisa mentioned it earlier. You've mentioned it before. Every time I speak to you guys, you're raving about Alicante Airport. And this is with just cause. It's just been voted the best airport in Europe for the 5th time. So that is actually a big selling point.
And the 3rd year running. Yeah, it's the 5th time and 3rd year running, and it's airports which traffic between 15 and 25 million people a year. So, you know, obviously your Heathrows and everything will be out of that picture, but for that tranche, it's absolutely fantastic. Its security is really quick. It's not a huge airport. It's not easy to get lost in. But the experience when you're in there is first class. They also got recognised through another internal world governing body of airports that they got a distinction, and they were one of 10 airports last year to get this distinction throughout the world. So it's not just Europe, it's they're recognised globally. Interesting though, the airport have just announced also plans to start an expansion project, not a runway, just expansion of the actual airport itself, which begins in 2027 after a consultation period. And it's specifically designed for non-Schengen travellers. So non-Schengen travellers are people from the UK. So what it's designed to do is people from the UK to have their very own channel where they're going to have all of these point of entry systems, which are supposed to be coming in by October this year. You won't be bothered by any other traveller other than UK travellers. Come straight through, and it's designed for ease of entry and exit to and from Spain. So that's going to start in 2027. So if it's easy now, it should be even easier then when the entry and exit systems come in, which are all over Europe, by the way. It's not just Spain, it's an EU thing.
And during that development phase, because that's going to be a big undertaking, will that cause disruption at the airport, or is it going to be completely separate?
They haven't said yet. So the consultation period hasn't started, and the planning hasn't actually started of it. Personal opinion, there'll probably be a bolt on where effectively it's you know, Schengen travellers this way, non-Schengen this way, and it's designed to make entry and exit as simple as they possibly can to keep those awards flowing, hopefully.
Yeah, even swifter. I must admit, every time we've travelled through Alicante Airport from Manchester, where we normally fly from, it's been an absolute breeze. And I don't really like airports at all. It's been an absolute breeze, and it's actually quite enjoyable because it's almost like, you know, hopping on a bus and hopping up. You know, it's really quick, it's really friendly and easy, and super clean. It's good for families. If you've got kids, don't be daunted by it, because you see loads of people with kids there, and they get straight through there quickly, don't they?
They do, and I mean the thing to say as well is from the vast majority of UK locations as well, Alicante is virtually a 365-day airport as well. I mean, people don't just buy in Spain to come in the summer. You know, some people don't come here in July and August because it's too hot for them. You know, they come in the springs and the autumns, and barring Christmas Day, I think you can virtually get a flight from most places in the UK every day.
Yeah. Well, often when we come out, we plan the trip, and sometimes, like the last trip I had with Gary, we basically booked the flights. I think 2 or 3 days after we decide, or within 2 or 3 days after we decided to come out. So it's that quick. It's that accessible. And again, welcome estates. You know, if there's a viewing trip planned, I believe as well, you may even pick up the prospective clients from the airport to make it even more seamless.
Yeah, we do. So, and anybody who's staying in our apartment, so we have clients in our apartment this week, like we do most weeks. But one of my colleagues has clients in the apartment as we speak now, and we provide a pickup and drop off service. We take you to the apartment, get you settled in, show you all the sites. So yeah, it's door to door service. I've even got my little hat.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I mean, welcome estates, they really do. And I've experienced it myself, to be honest, and that's why I enjoy doing these, is because I've seen it firsthand. You're not going to get a better buying experience than with welcome estates. It's a great little, system that you've got set up for someone who wants to come out and see properties. This includes flying into the best airport in Europe, getting picked up, getting put in a lovely apartment, which there is a video of on the channel, and then getting to meet the great Colin.
That's the only downside, unfortunately. But, yeah.
No, brilliant. So Alicante Airport, there we go. I was going to say maybe because we've hit 47 minutes, and I still want to hear about Portugal. Okay. I think maybe we leave the Mythbusters as our opening section of our next show, because I'm looking through these and there's some really good questions, some of which we covered on the last
I was looking forward to the sound effect. I was looking forward to the new sound effects as well.
Chris, can you put the sound effect on anyway, just for Colin at some stage? I want to go back to your trip to Portugal briefly, because again, a lot of people who come and travel to Spain, they've got traveling in their blood. I know you like doing the road trips as well. Just tell us a little bit more about how accessible different countries are. What have you experienced from your base, which is not too far from La Finca? And tell us a bit more about that.
Okay. So we done a long weekend in Lisbon. It was specifically designed to meet Deborah's brother and his wife, where we spent the Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Lisbon. Rather than fly, we thought we'll have a bit of an adventure. So we said we'll meet you there. So we planned the journey. And the first thing to say, we already covered it. The driving here is an absolute breeze, because we drove all the way across country. We stayed the night before. We stopped in a town called Badajoz, which is the Portuguese border town, if you like, but still in Spain. That took us about 7 hours of cruise control, hardly any cars on the road, all the way there, no problems whatsoever. Quite interestingly, though, because you're still in the same country, but you're so far west, the light there is totally different to the Costa Blanca. So that was the first thing I noticed. In the Costa Blanca, because we're further east, sun rises in the east, it's lighter much earlier in the morning, and the light is of such a quality. I noticed the difference in light over there just wasn't the same. And when you get across into Portugal, what you have to bear in mind, Portugal are actually 1 hour behind Spain. So Portugal are actually on Greenwich Mean Time. Because if you look on a map, it's actually under the UK, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we stayed in Badajoz for one night. Nice town. Nothing remarkable about it. Wouldn't be on your top 10 hit list to visit in Spain, but it's used as a bit of an outpost to then get into Portugal the next day. We set off in the morning. It was raining quite heavily, which we're not used to here, and a lot of drivers aren't used to. And 5 minutes into the journey, we subsequently got rear-ended at a set of traffic lights. Yeah.
That's not good, is it?
It's not, and it was quite a heavy rear ending as well. So I got this. Yeah, we can laugh now because we live to tell the tale. So
I'm
I
not
got
laughing at you. It's just the way you phrase that.
no. It's the circumstances. So yeah, rear ended in the wet. I got a shooting pain down my neck and quite a twinge in my back. Deborah got a really bad shooting pain in her right side of her neck. So in Spain, you pull over, you fill out these forms with the driver. The police came, and basically it's the legal way of swapping insurance details. And because we were injured, we were actually taken to hospital in Badajoz. And we again talked about the Spanish healthcare system. We got our SIP cards out, our Spanish healthcare cards. We were in there. Consultation, both x-rayed, full report for insurance purposes, full report and everything within an hour and a half, and back in the car driving to Portugal.
Wow,
So
that is brilliant. Well, I'm glad you two are okay for a start, but that is a great example of what we talked about earlier, and you've survived your huge rear ending as well, which is
Interestingly, though, we got mocked at the hospital because we talk quite often, and I'm sure we've touched it on the show, where you come and live in Costa Blanca, and I often refer to it as a soft landing because the international language here is English, and myself and Deborah speak some Spanish. We were being consulted in pidgin Spanish, pidgin English by the consultants in the hospital. And, I said in Spanish, we've lived in Alicante for 5 years. And she retorted back to me, "What, you've lived in Alicante 5 years and you don't speak fluent Spanish?" And then the other lady said, "Yeah, it's because they live in Alicante. Everybody speaks English."
Yes. Yeah.
So it does show you the difference of, can you imagine how frustrating that would have been for somebody without any Spanish whatsoever? You'd have been in a world of pain there. And, I always take these little life lessons out of things that happen. And had that happened here, we'd have just been consulted in English because everybody in Alicante speaks English. But anyway, we then moved on to Lisbon. There is no border. The road signs just changed. Lisbon, for anybody who hasn't been, is it's the second oldest city in Europe after Athens. So it's been around for absolute centuries, around about 800 years, I think. So it's a very old, classic, fantastic architecture. Word of advice for anybody with any mobility issues or need wheelchair access: don't bother, because the hills are like that. So it's a very hilly city. So you've got to be in peak physical condition, obviously, like I am, Aki, to go there. So we spent 3 nights there, beautiful, doing the classic sightseeing. And then on the way back, which was actually one of the highlights for us, we stopped in a beautiful city called Toledo, which many people will have heard of. Toledo is just south of Madrid. And up until the 16th century, Toledo was actually the capital of Spain. So the architecture there is absolutely incredible, and it's an absolute beautiful city. So we had an evening stay there, and then drove back and arrived back home. But the driving was perfect. Motorways, no problem. Lisbon, beautiful. The weather's just not as good there, I have to say that. We had friends who came to look after our dogs, and it was 24 degrees here, and it was like 14, 15 degrees there.
Which is still quite warm for us.
Yeah, but in comparison, you do get spoiled. So yes, there was some highlights, there was some lowlights, namely the trip to the hospital and the rear ending. But all in all, a nice little road trip adventure, which we'll remember for many years.
Well, there you go, guys. It's it just again shows that if you want to explore more than just the Costa Blanca, when you move out there, it's pretty easy to do, and you can drive there, and it's a nice, pleasant drive.
It's beautiful.
Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this particular episode. Before we wrap up, I just want to ask you, Colin, what have you got planned for Easter? Because It's all going off over here. We've got 2 weeks off with the kids, so every minute has been planned to to keep them active. What do you guys do over there in Spain?
Well, there'll be the Easter parades over here, so that's traditional. So we've got a long weekend. Our kid is now 25, so doesn't need the Easter eggs anymore. She's back in the UK, so nothing planned as far as down to the nth degree with that one. Yeah, it's very traditional in Spain. We have the Easter parade, so we'll find our local Easter parade and go and watch that with maybe a nice glass of cava and maybe some tapas. And the sun's starting to shine now a bit more regularly, so fingers crossed the rain's gone.
Well, it sounds great, Colin. It sounds really good. And guys, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Join the journey, guys, on this channel, because we've got loads more coming up. This podcast is going to be here every week. And next week, we've got another exciting show planned. We are going to do those myth busters. So Colin will get his chance to challenge some myths there. We're going to do a deep dive into some renovation projects in Costa Blanca. We've got all sorts coming. Property of the week, of course. We're going to catch up with Lisa again as well. So there's loads of stuff coming your way, guys. If you have any questions that you want us to feature on the show next week, don't forget to message on Instagram, message on this video, get in touch with the guys on the website. Any which way possible, you can get your questions in. And yeah, that leaves us just to say thanks for joining us. Colin, thanks for joining us. And
Thank you.
Hope you enjoy the rest of your week. And I'm sure we'll see you again next week.
Thanks for the support, everybody. And Aki, have a nice time off over Easter with the kids. I'm sure every minute will be a pleasurable one.